Tom Dean says they canceled their Board of Regents meeting is all I know. Indeed, Colorado did that today, and I actually do think that is the biggest story of the day, and I'm not even sure that it is close. But what I do know is there was nothing planned about realignment as far as we are aware. There was no big announcement coming. There was no vote on leaving the conference. Colorado is in lockstep with the other 10 members of this conference, which is to say that Colorado is going to be patient because there's no need to be anything else but patient. There's no hurry here. I think all 10 members of the Pac-12 would like to get this done as soon as possible, but nobody's in a hurry because I am of the belief system that if Colorado, and I don't believe it'll be one team, I think it will be a group of teams should anybody leave the conference. If Colorado were to leave the conference, it would send shockwaves through the rest of the members of the conference. And I believe teams like Arizona and Utah, Oregon and Washington would be forced to act. So this is not a move that Colorado is going to take lightly, and they're certainly not going to do it in a brief, Board of Regents meeting. That's just not the way Colorado has gone about this. And Jake, I think we all get excited because it's a Board of Regents meeting and it's in public. So certainly they must be talking about a vote on leaving the conference.
Yeah, certainly, right? No, not really. I think that, obviously there was an overreaction to this meeting. And again, it's a very straightforward thing. Nobody's making any decisions until a media deal comes back and they know what that number is. It's just really that simple. And I think, after the events of yesterday and some of the reporting and everything, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, go and watch yesterday's show. But after what happened yesterday, I think that there's some burnout on, bad reporting. There's some burnout on getting ahead of the curve. There's some burnout on, saying something and reporting something that just is blatantly not true. And so with this meeting, I think a lot of people just didn't believe everyone who was saying, this is going to be a vote to leave the conference. I think because of yesterday, people were like, well, actually, we don't really know that. They just kind of canceled the meeting, and it is what it is. And I think you can kind of see the frustration with the whole situation. And so for my money, I'm just like, yeah, hey, they canceled the meeting. I don't think they were voting on leaving the conference, mainly because they don't know if they want to leave the conference. And really, the whole situation just comes down to whether they know the number with the distribution deal. Because again, I don't believe that there's equal revenue sharing, even with all these reports out there. There's no way on God's green Pac-12 conference that Oregon is going to get the same share as Washington State. That's not happening. That's not how it works. So for all these people out there, talking about equal revenue sharing and every team's going to get the same slice of the pie, that is just not true. We don't know that. And if it is true, nobody's signing that grant of rights. That's not happening. Phil Knight and his Nike money is not signing that grant of rights. President Cossé at Washington's not signing that grant of rights. So for me, I look at this Colorado meeting and I just say it's a nothing burger. There's nothing there. They weren't voting on going to the Big 12. Just because it was a public session does not immediately mean that you were voting to go to the Big 12. So I just think it wasn't a big deal. I think that's as easy as it is.
Yeah, and I know there have been all kinds of wild rumors around about why they canceled the. Until something happens, nothing happened. Not to be the master of the obvious, and I say that because this is. I think most people view this as just some little game that we're waiting to play out. It's not a game in any way, shape, or form. These moves have very serious implications on a lot of people's lives. There are people's livelihoods at stake. There are people's incomes at stake. There are people's legacies at stake. You don't take that stuff lightly. I mean, you look at the job that a lot of these people that work for the Pac-12 do. They're going to be out of work if this whole thing, if everybody that's celebrating the Pac-12 collapsing, there's a human toll to be paid for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we really work hard not to celebrate and not to overreach, because I just don't think there's a need to do that.
Well, and I think that word you use there, celebrating. There's a lot of people celebrating this Pac-12 situation, and I think it's unnecessary. Do we talk about it every day? Yeah, we do. Does that mean that we're celebrating the Pac-12 burning to the ground? No, we're not.
Not at all.
I believe that you're paying the price for the decisions you made and the commissioners you hired. Like I literally think that's all this is, because I can assure you that with a better commissioner, the Comcast situation never happens. With better management and better leadership, a lot of these situations you find yourself in never happen. Hey, by the way, maybe if you had a more savvy commissioner, maybe they would have listened to Fox and ESPN when those two came to you and said, hey, you should merge with the Big 12. Maybe you would have given that conversation some more credence. I don't know, but I think that's why you're there, and I don't think it should be celebrated because, frankly, you know, with all due respect to Stillwater and the Midwest and everything, you're not shaking a stick at the Bay Area or Los Angeles or San Diego or the Pacific Northwest. Like, that's prime real estate and geography in our country.
Totally agree.
And the idea that a conference is burning to the ground that has that geography is incredible to me.
Yeah, it is mismanagement. I don't have any issue with that. Tom Dean says, I read the CU president needed an emergency colonoscopy. No idea if that's true or not, and I hope it's not true. I hope it's not true.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not, like, to me, with all due respect to Tom, and I appreciate the $2, are we really sitting here thinking, like, this is what we've reduced a Board of Regents meeting to? That certainly there must have been a colonoscopy, which is the only reason that Colorado wouldn't leave the conference. Not that that's what Tom is saying, but, I mean, when we're guessing that a guy had to have an emergency colonoscopy, and that's why a Board of Regents meeting didn't happen, that's kind of shocking to me.
Like, do you understand the reach that is? And, like, do you understand how bad of a situation it has to be for someone to need an emergency colonoscopy?
Yeah, I really hope that's not the case.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that's funny. Anyway. Expedition Greg gives us $2 to say, totally love the Big Ten new schedule model. Yeah, we'll talk about that coming up. I think they crushed it. They absolutely crushed it. As the Big 12 has, interestingly enough, on Big 12 Mexico. Mm-hmm. Why are you not a fan of this?
Yeah, I think that from a business standpoint, it's fine. I understand the logic and the positives from a business standpoint, but I think there are just a couple of items that no one's talking about. Like Mexico isn't the safest country in the world. I'm not saying that the United States is perfectly safe either, right? I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to compare the two, but
sure.
When I look at the Big 12 and I look at, you know, trying to expand in a global sense, I love that concept, but I do think there's some baggage that comes with it. You know, like how many articles do I read on a weekly basis of, hey, this tourist or that tourist, you know, wound up on the side of the road or something, or some horrible act was done. Like I understand that these kids are protected. They're in, you know, a schedule. They're in very protected spaces. And are the odds high that something happens to them? No, of course not, right? Like, of course not. But I just wonder, okay, why was Mexico the first choice? Well, because it's close, right? It's our southern border. It's right there. It's not far. Like, logistically speaking, it's easy. So I get it. But I just think when you talk about Big 12 expansion and really just college athletic expansion and getting to other countries and regions where you wouldn't necessarily be in a traditional sense, you got to be careful and you got to take into account that things like, I don't know, LiAngelo Ball trying to steal sunglasses out of a shop in China, I think it was, or wherever that was, things like that can happen. And we can go from nice, cute little basketball tournament in another country to, hey, kid is sitting in a Mexican jail cell real quick. Like, those are the things that I have concerns with. Now, from a business sense, amazing. Money-making opportunity, you're growing your brand, like you're becoming a global entity instead of just a domestic entity. Like,
right.
It makes perfect sense. But I just have some concerns around that because I think when kids go into other countries, they're in the moment, they do things they shouldn't, and now all of a sudden you got a mess on your hands. And that's the tough part. Yeah,
I think it is a stroke of genius in business that you are going to start playing basketball games in Mexico in December of 2024. I think that when you're going to have a bowl game as soon as 2026 in Monterey, I think it's genius. I mean, anything to grow that brand internationally. And the funny thing is, you bring up the LiAngelo Ball situation at UCLA. That was the Pac-12's attempt to reach the Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
And it failed miserably. And I think that is, when we talk about mistakes and issues and things that have hurt or hampered the Pac-12, certainly that LiAngelo Ball moment in time for UCLA is one that a lot of people will go back to.
Yeah.
Now, does something like that happen in Mexico? Man, I certainly hope not, and I would think not.
Yeah.
Are the dangers of the everyday reality for the Mexican people, something to consider? Of course. But I think if you're the Big 12, you have infrastructure in place for that.
Yeah.
And I think any country that you travel to, you have to be aware. I don't particularly worry about that. I think it is an amazing win for the Big 12 to get on that stage, to be in that spotlight. I think is huge.
Yeah.
And the PR that you're going to generate and the recruiting that you're going to get out of that, the cultural exposure that your athletes and staff are going to get out of that. Like, I just don't see how it's not a win altogether. I think it brings value for your TV partners. I think partners like ESPN Deportes, it is roundly a win. For the Big 12, for its business partners, its commercial division. I think it is roundly a win. And I think the thing that when you compare the Big 12 to the Pac-12, the hard part is the Pac-12 doesn't currently have the ability to do any of this.
Yeah.
Because you don't know if you're going to be here in 2024.
Facts.
And I think it is very smart of the Big 12 to keep running away. I mean, you are sprinting away from the Pac-12 that is standing still. Mm-hmm. And I think in the money-making department, I think you're level with the SEC. I mean, if you're not level, you're close to level.
Yeah.
Because you are, if you're going to play a bowl game, dude, that is good money.
Yeah.
That is good money. And a bowl game that will be desirable because it's in a huge stadium that is going to be packed. Because the Mexican people love American sports.
The other question I would have for in specifically in a bowl game scenario, let's not forget the NFL experience, right? When the NFL was playing games in Mexico, the players complained about the turf and had some quality issue complaints. I wonder, if we see that, or if because it's not the NFL, if the Big 12 says, "Hey, we got certain standards that we gotta live up to." Those are things that I would be looking for. But again, like I said, I'm not saying that this is a bad idea. I think it's a great idea. I just think that you have to really be buttoned up on, things like grass quality, field quality, safety and security. Like, if you do all those things, then there's no reason why it can't be a super successful venture and idea.
I just on reach alone.
Yeah.
On reach alone, man, to be able to put Kansas basketball in Mexico City, to be able to put your best football brand in Monterrey, Mexico. I mean, that's the stuff of legends, man. Like, that's just the exposure to the Mexican community and to the culture of Mexico. Huge win. But when we're talking about branding, when we're talking about, and many of you may not know this, I don't know, but the baseball leagues in Mexico are actually quite good.
Yeah.
To be playing Big 12 baseball, let's say, in Mexico, to be mixing your maybe it's soccer, maybe it's, obviously it's basketball, to be mixing your basketball leagues with the Mexican Professional Basketball Association, to be bringing American football, which is massive in Mexico, to Monterrey in a population like the people of Monterrey. I just think it's a massive win. It is. I don't know how else you spin it. I really don't. I think it is. It's gonna be incredible.
Yeah.
And whether it's money making, TV reach, recruiting, it's going to be incredible. It is really going to be incredible. Ted Adams says they're replacing the turf from scratch after the last NFL game down there. It will be brand new sod in 24-25. Yeah, I'm not worried at all about that. I'm not worried at all about that. So, but that's just me. Truck Stop Gumby says the Tapatio Conference. Could be. Absolutely could be. But that's just me. Cougar Tracks says, I'm fine with Mexico if I can take a gun. Take it easy. See, and look, again, and I just disagree with you on this. I understand, are there drug cartels and murders and gun wars? Yeah. Welcome to the United States of America. Oh, I'm sorry. Welcome to Mexico. I understand that it is a country that struggles with crime, as do we. I understand it is a country that struggles with guns, as do we. I understand it's a country that struggles with the drug trade and murder, as do we. That doesn't mean that people shouldn't come here and enjoy culture and travel and sports. You have to be vigilant. You have to be smart. You have to be educated. If you are the Big 12, you have to bring security. You have to have security measures in place. I just don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't. Kurt Peters says, I love me some summer Tapatio. Mild. That's all I'm asking for. My wife loves the spicy, not me. Spangler, no, the cartel turned those guys into the police. The cartel are good guys. Come on now. Mexico has an enormous upper class, tons of untapped money and access. Sure, could be. Kurt Peters, all I know is don't take the Big 12 basketball to Russia. We'd not cool there. See what he like? That's a Brittany Griner reference.
I'm just saying,
cannabis
situations like that. Now, do I think that Mexico is far easier to deal with than the Russians? Obviously.
Yep, I would agree. Drew Christensen, I'm with two holes. Jakey two holes.
Hey, by the way, Drew Christensen's big on the Macavo. What did we hear this morning in a little meeting? What did we hear?
Stop. Dude,
hey guys.
We're 21 minutes into the show. Let me take a breath before you start running out how great the Bacavo is.
Well,
right. We've established this on the show. Nobody likes the Bacavo more than they like the Deluxe. Nobody. Sir, and nobody's taken the Bacavo over the Cordon Bleu.
Well,
nobody.
I guess there's one of us.
You. That's it.
Me.
You. There's nobody else that's taken the Bacavo over the Deluxe at Super Chicks. It's not happening.
I know.
Drew says, I'm with two holes. I'm not a huge fan personally of the Big 12 basketball in Mexico.
Okay, hear me clearly, though, because I'm not saying I'm not a fan of it, right? Like, I've been kind of clear on this. I'm a fan of the idea. I'm a fan of, hey, expand your brand internationally. Absolutely. From a business sense, it makes total sense. Sure. All I'm saying is that it's one incident away. Do we have gun problems and drug problems here? Yes, we do. What's the difference? If someone gets in trouble here, they're on U.S. soil, not Mexican or Russian soil. That's the only difference. That's it. I'm not trying to say that it's a bad idea. Yeah. Not trying to say I'm not a fan of it. I agree. We have issues here. People be dying every day in Chicago. Every single day.
Every day.
Every day. Yet, we still have Bulls games. I get it. I absolutely get it. But the culture is different. So that's all I'm saying. I think it's a great idea. I just think you have to be real buttoned up with those security teams.
I don't even disagree with you.
Yeah.
I don't. Raider Mark, Mexico is hosting the World Cup. I think security won't be an issue.
Well, I guess we'll find out.
I don't know that I would compare the two, but I understand what you're saying. I do. I mean, Big Daddy Magic.
Okay, let me.
I haven't even seen this comment yet, and I'm worried about it. See it now. I'll be where your basketball player goes to Mexico Joe for stealing donkeys.
Bro, I don't know what you're talking about, but
dude, the funny thing is, listen, man, the edibles, just put them away.
It's only $3.20.
No edibles yet. Raider Mark says hosting with U.S. and Canada. Yeah, I'm here for it. Big 12 basketball to Moscow, Jimmy. Stop.
Dude.
Stop. Tanner says that was just my experience, though. Okay. Spangler, avoiding crime in Mexico isn't that difficult. You just use common sense.
I hope that's true. I've never been to Mexico, so
Shannon, what's up, Christopher Shannon, says money, money, money.
Yep.
Where do you create more dollars in interest, Mexico or Canada? Mexico.
Yeah.
Mexico. Everything's on fire in Canada right now.
Yeah.
How about those pictures out of New York? Did you guys see the New York pictures yesterday? Bros, these pictures, these are the Canadian wildfire smoke over New York City.
Yeah, bro.
Like, this is wild. Wildin'. It's not unprecedented. I saw a bunch of people like, we've never seen this before.
It's not true.
Every year we see it. But this is wild.
Next level.
Yeah, that's wild, dude. If you are watching in Canada, and I know we have a pretty significant Canadian crowd, I wish you well. I know it's unfortunately Jake and I have been part of that in the past. So, anyone else getting audio dropping out?
Here we go.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Here we
Filling in for somebody.
Kurt Peters says, I once see a donkey show in Tijuana. Some things can't be unseen.
You fucking donkey.
Yeah, Mrs. Monty and I.
Hey, Mrs. Monty.
Way back in the day when you could, walk over the border from U.S. to Mexico in Tijuana, we did. And I drank a whole bunch of water. It was amazing. We didn't. We actually hung out, bought leather goods.
Leather goods.
Yeah, I bought a wallet in Mexico.
There's some wild shit going on right
There was. We walked over
Leather goods.
Dude, there is no doubt. Listen, if you have not been to Tijuana, you're never going, because it is a vastly different place than it was in the 90s. But I'm telling you that Mexico was fun. I have vivid memories of being terrified about little children selling me chiclets on the pedestrian bridge.
Right.
I'm not kidding. They're standing there with packets of chiclets, bubble gum. You don't even know what chiclets are. They're gum. And they're selling you packets of chiclets. And there are donkeys pretty much on every corner that you can take pictures with for $5. They're like, it was fun, dude. I enjoyed it. Spangler says, I live in Manhattan. I almost died yesterday. Wow. Yeah. It's tough. You look at these images in New York,
gnarly,
dude. There's nothing funny about this. Like, this is, you're talking about deadly air quality.
Yeah.
Like, deadly air quality. You want to breathe that in? That is Canadian wildfire smoke right there.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in breathing that in. Spangler, be cool out there in Manhattan. I know that that's a big deal. Raider March says, side note, Narcos was a great show. It was.
Yeah.
It absolutely was. No doubt about it. Maury Alvarez, the great Floridian. Let's get a couple of polls up on Bacavo versus Deluxe and drums versus flats. Maury?
I agree.
Stop it. Raider Mark says, selling limes, bought some limes. There you go. Bryson Martin, Tijuana is now a war zone, sadly. It really is sad. Because Tijuana just didn't have to be that way. Cougar Tales, Monty, buy the chessboard pieces in Tijuana, the best. Okay. Jeremy Calzone, dude, the calzones at Papa Murphy's are amazing. Drank a bunch of water, that'll fix that colon. Right? Dude, never. Truck Stop Gumby says donkey two holes. Wow, Jake, any comment?
Bro.
Hugh Janus.
Like, what am I supposed to say
Donkey,
to that,
dude. What?
Like,
and here's the thing I don't understand. And you guys tell me if I'm wrong about this, and I'm totally fine with it if I'm wrong. Can somebody explain to me the fascination with taking a picture of a small horse that is literally dropping piles of dung at your feet? Like, I don't understand it. Though the donkeys like stand on the corners,
yeah,
chained to posts,
yeah,
crapping and pissing everywhere, and people are like, oh yeah, bro, gotta get a picture, man. Hey, can I get one of them pinjatas to take a picture with donkey two holes?
I want it.
And how about one of those Pancho Villa things?
Bro, I thought you said pinjatas.
Yeah, pinjatas to go with your fajitas and quesadillos. Right? Like,
Bro.
that's... if you're taking a picture with a donkey, that's a you problem. Whatever else you choose to do behind those curtains with the donkey, hey.
The Tijuana curtain.
Yeah, hey, man, you don't want to know. You don't want to know. You do not want to know. Tom says NYC has better air today, supposedly.
Yeah.
It's going to take a couple of days before that moves off. Do not buy the bacon-wrapped hot dogs, Cougar Tail says. My cousin puked from Tijuana to San Diego in the car. Disgusting.
Waves in opposition.
Come on, man.
No, I'm good.
Bryce Martin, the air quality was already bad enough there. Certainly it was. Spangler, I didn't wear a mask or anything and came home, took a nap, woke up choking like crazy and couldn't breathe. It sucked. Much better today. Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that, Spangler. I am glad to hear that. Let's see. Kurt Peters. Mexico is basically a failed narco state. I have no idea. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know. Spangler also says yesterday wasn't like smog. You could taste the orange in your... Oh, come on, man. You can taste the orange in your mouth.
That's an issue.
No, I'm good.
Oh.
No, I'm good.
Terrible. Truck stop Gumby poncho VO things. Yeah, you know those little blankets that have a hole and they're a poncho. You put them on, you know. I've seen Starsky and Hutch. I know how this shit works. Big Daddy Magic. Donkeys are overrated.
Yeah?
Surprised to hear you say
Then
that.
why do you like Victor?
Boyd Lakes. Oh, wow. Why? It's not a donkey. It's a burro. Oh,
Yeah, thank you.
which is different than a churro.
Right. Yeah, it's a burrow.
I could be
That's
wrong.
the untrained eye.
Come on. I mean, that is, I've never understood that. People are like, oh, hey, like all these pictures up in Park City and up in the Tetons of these tourists trying to grab baby bison and getting gored by, their massive mother.
Ain't ducking no smoke.
What are you doing?